Claude Code is turning people like us who are non-technical to be able to code applications and useful things that doesn't actually require engineering and to basically 10x the rest of our team.
Your speed of iteration is going to go through the roof. Things that would take a month are going to take a matter of like a week. Things that would take you a week are now going to take a matter of days or hours.
Welcome to the second episode of Talk Nerdy to Me. And in this episode, we are going to talk about Claude Code. And I'm so excited to talk about it.
I'm super pumped for this episode. I took you on the journey of Claude Code just a couple of weeks ago, and I want to take everyone on the same journey. So today you're going to go all the way from using Claude Desktop and ditching it entirely to going all the way into Claude Code and like 10xing your capabilities.
I have to be honest, in the very beginning, like I'm not a very technical person. So interacting with the terminal, which is like a black box to me traditionally, felt very, very scary. But interacting with Claude Code for the first time actually made me feel like there's like a new world opening up to me, which is why I'm like super excited to kind of get into it today.
Even though David and I have worked at some great companies, we're non-technical at our core, and we've become super, super adept at using these technical things like Claude Code and using the terminal to write code and agents for ourselves. And today you're going to go through that exact journey. Even if we don't get all the way there, you should go today from completely ditching ChatGPT and Claude Desktop and going straight into it. Today we want to be super, super practical with this. We're going to get you to actually doing something in Claude Code today with real data and real stuff.
So when it comes to installation, it's really simple. I'll leave a link in the comment section below. And you can just copy this link, put it into your terminal, and that is it. And then you let it install. And I think it's worthwhile showing you what it might look like. I'm in my own cursor. Just any IDE in a development environment is fine.
To begin with, a really important bit to call out is that David is now within what you call a project directory. Think of it as a folder. Now, this is really important because this is the universe for Claude Code that it can play in. So it cannot actually go outside this folder and start messing with things inside your computer unless you explicitly tell it so. This is really, really important because if you're afraid of getting hacked or something errant kind of happening, the best thing you can do is just go into a folder, make it all happen there. And, there's some things we'll show you down the line to kind of prevent errant kind of things happening. Now, the very first thing you're going to do, David, is actually get Claude up and running. So let's just type Claude, simple as that, and hit enter.
And this is my terminal, by the way.
Yeah. Can you zoom in?
Yep. Like this?
Boom. Yep, so this is in it. So now David is in the terminal over here. He's initialized Claude. Now the first thing you're going to do is, the first thing we should chat about is that there are a number of states Claude can exist in. So if you look underneath that cursor where, David's typing, you have question mark for shortcuts. Now if he hits Shift Tab, it'll go into auto accepting all edits on, which is kind of a bit useful, and generally I leave it on that. And if you go Shift Tab again, it'll go into planning mode. Now planning mode is really great and important if you are trying to do a larger task. And so what you can ask Claude to do is come up with a plan first and then execute it, rather than kind of spinning out and doing things. So if you think that your task is a little bit more complicated, always default to doing planning mode and then moving into an auto accept edit mode. The other important thing to really call out is Claude has these sort of hot words, think hard, and ultra think. So if you ever type that in, what it would do, it would force Claude to think a bit more deeply about that, rather than just having a cursory level understanding. So these are some like little life hacks. And then the very, very final thing is /actions. Now, David, if you clear that box there, if you hit /, for all of you familiar with Slack, you remember the /actions you can do? Those exist within Claude Code as well. And the really first important one you should do is /init or init, which is initialize, and hit enter. And what this will do is actually give Claude an understanding of your folder. Now you can see it's going through the process of understanding your folder, and it's going to create what is called a Claude.md file.
And I think like with a Claude.md file, like the way to think about it is that it's a description of what your code base is roughly about. And at the same time, I think for some of our vibe coders, it's also a place where you can add additional instructions for Claude specifically. So then like if you want Claude to behave in a very specific way, whether that's to think like MVP, don't think too much and just focus on getting to the prototype, it will do that. That is the file generally that you want to change if you want to like add additional instructions to it.
Yeah, it's super powerful. And in fact, it's opened up. So the great thing about it is when you look at it, it's written in plain text. So you can actually go in, read it, And you can see it's already gone ahead and done an understanding. So it's looked at what the files are in this circumstance.
Yeah.
And so little bit of a cheeky spoiler, we've created some fake Facebook and Google performance data. But let's go
Hmm.
back into Claude Code, and in that box there, David, why don't you ask the first prompt? What's in this folder and what can we do with it? Awesome. And see, if we scroll up, David, you can see here it's actually gone ahead and understood what's happening. So it's picked out that there's 500 campaigns, 1,500 keyword campaigns. It's gone ahead and jumped ahead and actually given some performance analysis and data
Mm.
insights. But why is this super useful? Because what we're chatting, just to be clear, we're talking about Facebook and Google data. Like, how would you have solved this in the past?
I think like in the past, I would have to use like different tools like Supermetrics, extract the data, crunch the numbers, and actually trying to get somewhere, uh, get to a place into like a dashboard place to actually start to ask questions. In this format, I might not, I could actually just use the raw data sheets and just like throw it all in here and let Claude interact with it. Claude will effectively write Python and write code to answer some of these questions. Of course, you can actually do it on desktop too, but I think like the speed at which this executes, it's just incredibly good. And especially if you want to build your own applications to crunch like repeatable, like the same questions that you might have on a week basis. That's also like you can just rerun the same Python script. Maybe this is another example that will run sometime in the future.
So what we can see here is what I was mentioning earlier, where it's starting to create some Python files. So it's actually installing Python here. And it's actually creating a number of Python files. So say a week from now, you want to rerun this again and again and again, you have these sort of repeatable functions. So imagine if we took Google Sheets, you'd have to upload it, you'd have to, there'd be a limit on how big the file is. That's
Mm,
completely saved now. You're not limited. You can dump in 2 years worth of data. It will do it in the same repeatable format. It'll probably even evaluate how good of a fit it is. Um,
mm. And you can definitely clean it too to make life a little bit easier and prepare it into spreadsheets in any form that you like. I really think that's the power of Claude Code. Um, of course, beyond that, they also have like sub agents and some of the additional features that we'll talk a little bit more on towards the end of the episode. But I'm just like really excited about it, just mostly because as a non-technical person, the most exciting thing to me is what it could be. Building MCP servers for both my team, for myself, and being able to code this, like vibe code it, and being able to use it in a span of a day is like very appealing to me. Now I feel like the world is on like it's at my fingertips.
Yeah, I mean, imagine all those random tools that you would spend $100 a month for, if not more, $20, $30 per seat. They kind of do the job, but you're having to copy paste some data from one place to another. All of that can happen inside Claude Code now. And the great thing is you can share this with anyone in your team so they can tweak it for their process. So every person has a 10, 100x capability that didn't exist before.
Mm. And I think like before we interpret the results, next episode we will share one of the MCP servers that I had the chance to write myself, and with a bit of help from 10A, of course. And like this is something that I vibe coded myself, deployed it with my team. It works. Dealt with some of the security issues. It's been incredibly fun and really productive. So I can't wait to share that next time. Okay.
I completely agree. But let's get into the data. So we're noticing that it's already come out. This is a fictional business called TaskFlow about work tracking and ticket tracking sort of software. And unfortunately, David, despite being a great marketer, you're bleeding money. This is disappointing, David. We'll have a conversation about this
Uh,
after the call for our fictional
my,
business.
yeah.
What are some critical
Supposedly we
issues,
have 0.5 ROAS.
mate?
86% of our ads are unprofitable and dog shit.
You 40% generate
40%.
zero revenue, mate. Well, this performance chat at the end of the call is gonna be really awkward now.
That's gonna be fucking
But
shit.
here's the wild thing. So we haven't really done all that much here. But this is really, really interesting and exciting, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
David hasn't had to explain his business. He hasn't had to go and copy paste a bunch of data,
Yeah.
review what's in the time window, what isn't. You haven't had to, run maybe an index sort of function or like a VLOOKUP in Google Sheets. You've just thrown the data into Claude Code, and in the space of sub 5 to 10 minutes, you've got a really meaningful analysis. But
Hmm.
let's take this like a little step further. David, why don't you tell it to write a file with some of this like logic saved in? Prompt and say, why don't you save this analysis for next time in a .txt file? Great. So you can actually save this on hand as a .txt file that you can copy paste anywhere. And I want to introduce two new exciting concepts as well. So the first is we're going to load up our next action. So
Mm.
David, can you in the prompt box type now, can you save this analysis process as a Python file that I can use again in a week?
I can just enter because then the Claude will just follow the commands.
Yeah, it
So
would
I
just
think we'll
follow
be
it and
okay.
load it up next. So what's really exciting is now we're going to have a .txt file. It's going to run that. It's also then going to create a Python file and have that loaded up. And so at the end of that, when both of those are done, all David has to do is in his prompt go and call upon both, which we will do. So what's really exciting here is it saved this analysis as a
Mm.
.txt file. It's now going to go and create a Python file with the processed users analysis.
Mm.
So what we'll do a demo of after this, which Thomas simulate the behavior that David would do a week from now, is tag both files and then use that as a way to rerun exactly the same analysis a week from now and pretend like he's an amazing sort of a data analyst, even though he's just replicated exactly the same process and iterated on. And
Yeah.
so we're going to wait for this Python file to be created. Now, David, can you go to the taskflow analysis.py file on the left? Great. So here you can see, you don't have to understand this. It's got the Python code to go crunch the numbers again. So David, now we're going to go back in to the prompt box for Claude Code and
Mm.
say, pretend that we're a week down the line. Can you hit pretend we're a week from now and rerun the analysis and then go at, this is a hotkey, type in the task flow, yep, analysis, enter, and spit out an analysis just like, and then you're going to go at again, and you're going to pick out the text file. And boom, there you go. So hypothetically, a week from now, you come back, you update the sheets, and you have this prompt ready to go, and you can just analyze it. Now, if you want to get really lazy, you could probably save that prompt to your Claude.md file and say, hey, instead of me having to do that, you could just basically call it a much shorter prompt, like reanalyze, and save you the effort of typing it if you want it to be really, really lazy. But that's
Mm.
kind of a power user capability. And if users are really interested in some of those things like editing the Claude.md file, sub agents, and some of those really exciting things, let us know. Otherwise, yeah, David, how do you feel about what we've achieved today?
Yeah, I'm just waiting for this to finish loading. I think like, of course, this is meant to be a very beginner friendly version of like baby stepping into the world of Claude Code. I think like the possibility of this being able to build some of your own tooling for your team and being able to like craft that in a span of like 24 hours and then deploy it in the next day, to me is like the most exciting part. What I'm really excited about out of all of this is that Claude Code is turning our people like us who are non-technical to be able to code applications and useful things that doesn't actually require engineering, and to basically 10x the rest of our team. I mean, 10x is a little bit of an exaggeration, but if you have multiple of
No,
these like
I,
MCP
I don't
servers,
think I don't think it's an exaggeration, David. I think it's pretty accurate. As a
mm,
PM in Canva, I would have to go to a data analyst. I would copy a SQL a snippet. It would break. I'd have to spend 2 to 3 hours. Maybe I put a ticket on the data analyst's backlog. We just did it. We just made this
yeah,
happen.
yeah, it's crazy because like I'm like the machine is writing my SQL. I'm not really writing SQL anymore. Of course, like you have to tread these environments very carefully because of PII and like making sure that the data doesn't have any personal information and so on and so forth. Like we assume that some of you is not dumb enough to like basically put all of the personal information into Claude and pretend that everything will be okay. But I think like the need for like very sophisticated SQL writing, and then like very sophisticated, like just basically being on the backlog of someone else's like work, you can get an answer right now, like in the next like 5 minutes. If you have a question, you have the data set. And to me, that's the most exciting part. Waiting for analysis and waiting for like just being able to write a SQL to get the answer. It's like those days doesn't feels like it's gone. Now
Yeah,
it's really about like how fast you can generate the insight, how you interpret it, and then basically like go into action mode, go into
yeah,
execution mode.
and that's really important because suddenly now, if you're able to get insights and get insights faster, you're able to act faster. Your speed of iteration is going to go through the roof. Things that
Mm,
would take a month are going to take a taking a week. Things that would taking a week are now going to take a matter of days or hours. And that's a really exciting space. And this is just the day one for Claude Code. Claude
Oh
Code
yeah.
only got released start of this year. So we're in the early days. There is a whole ecosystem spanning up. We're seeing competitors come down the line. Thank you, David, so much. This was really exciting. So today we've gone
Yeah.
all the way from being in Claude Desktop ChatGPT to going directly into Claude Code. Now, viewers, listeners, audience, please
Geeks.
tell us your feedback. Did you find this interesting? Did you find this useful? Did you feel like we went far enough, or did you feel like we went too fast? Tell us, because we really, really want to iterate. We're going to
Yeah.
be across all socials. We're going to be on YouTube as well. So, come ahead and please tell us. And David, what have you got loaded up for us next week?
Google Sheets MCP. I think a model context protocol is effectively like a way for LLMs to interact with other tools. I've been really obsessed about it. I've been able to use Claude Code to like actually make something for my squad. So I'm excited to share like that with you, with all of you. And then maybe perhaps after, if you guys actually want to see us code a project together in a span of an hour, we'll be very open to do that too. Like that is so incredibly exciting. And there's like a lot of nuanced small details in terms of how you plan and how you execute really makes a massive difference to your code base towards the end. And I think like the other thing that I also want to say is that we're not really trying to say that with Claude Code, we're suddenly turning into like enterprise engineers and like senior engineers. Like that's not really what we're ultimately trying to say. I think like what we're really trying to get to is that in this new world of like tooling for a lot of our non-technical people, what used to be like absolutely really hard to do around like pushing tickets to someone else's team and asking them to do things, those days are long gone. Like you're equipping yourself with the tools, you're building your own tooling. And if you can embrace that, suddenly you're going from like a marketer to like a marketing for lack of better words, marketing like a whole team by yourself. Yeah. And to me, that's why I can't sleep. Like that's why I'm super excited.
We're super excited about this. As you can tell, we want to do more of this, but like I mentioned, send us your feedback. But otherwise, catch you for next time. Thanks, team.